Welcome back, everyone. As you probably imagined from the thumbnail, today we're talking about this stuff right here, which is armor. We do a lot of armor testing here on the channel, but this armor looks completely different. It actually feels completely different. There's just no way I can show you that on camera, but trust me, it doesn't feel like normal body armor. And that's because it is not. This is CH-47 armor. This is actually part of a package, a kit, from what I understand. Based on my limited research, I've never been a CH-47 pilot or crewman, but from what I understand, this is the second oldest type of armor that the CH-47s use, and now they use much newer, I'm sure lighter, better types of armor. So this stuff has been discarded. It's no longer used anymore. One of the reasons I feel completely fine showing what will defeat it, because they have better stuff now. I also have a older generation than even this. If you guys are interested in that, let me know. We might do a second test to see like what really old CH-47 armor does, but I have no idea what it's made of. They just say composite online, and it says that it is rated to stop rifles. No idea what that what that's rated for, because as you guys know, there are a ton of different velocities, projectile materials, all of those sorts of things that get into rifle armor. And then when I posted about this on my social, which by the way, if you guys aren't following me on my social media, I definitely recommend you do so. A lot of people were pointing out the fact that a CH-47 oftentimes correctly is at distance from where anyone would be firing it. So the actual velocity, the muzzle velocity, things like that, of the rounds that would be striking it are going to vary. So we have different barrel lengths to kind of simulate that here on the channel as best we can with our redneck science. And what we're going to do is just start shooting it. We have two of these different panels here today, which is the same level and package of armor. And we're going to see what can get through it. We have everything out here. I brought an entire arsenal out today. So we're going to find out what this can and cannot stop. We'll probably start just with a 9mm just to make sure it's not like completely defective, because that would kind of like ruin the entire test and my entire reason for coming out here today. And then step it up for rifles. And again, we have everything out here possible, to include the 50, to include AP 50 if needed. I'm not sure that it will be. One thing I will tell you is obviously this is a, an aircraft armor kit, so it has no relationship to the NIJ standards that we're used to for body armor, but it feels like level 3 that like stops everything but AP, except it's way lighter. Like it's like way lighter than level 3 would be. I think this says 6 pounds on it, but I'm telling you, if you cut this into an actual like 10 by 12 curved plate, I don't think it would weigh 3 pounds. I mean, it's light. It's like, it's abnormally light. Like level 3 armor is light. This is lighter than that, like oddly so. It feels odd when you're holding it. But I suppose there's only one way to see what it can and can't stop. So let's get into it. All right, so we have our large panel up against a box with some dirt in it, a good bit of dirt. So it's got some resistance, just like it would be obviously on an aircraft. Probably not quite as much, but it definitely has some. It's not just floating out there in the wind. We're about 10 yards back. We have a couple cameras that we're gonna run in, and obviously a gigantic berm behind it to keep everything safe. Start out with some 9mm and then get into the rifles and see what happens. Started out with some 115 grain MagTech out of the DS Warrior Kimber. Well, I think it stopped it. I'm guessing you could probably tell from the slow-mo, but it impacted here and it did stop it. However, we had some backface deformation on there. Interesting. So like I was saying earlier, comparing it to like level 3 body armor, with level 3, there's no way you'd see any backface deformation with 9mm like that. So it's definitely a different material. It's some DoD space magic. But anyway, let's keep going. Next round up, we have some arms core. This 147 grain 300 blackout coming out of a 10-inch barrel. So very similar to what you would see with like an AK at distance from a 16-inch barrel. So we'll see. Let's check it out. So we had our impact here on the edge. Obviously, I'm trying to space it out to keep the armor fresh for our hits. We had a little bit of splitting there, but absolutely no penetration at all. So, you know, if you were getting shot at with an AK from like 200-300 rounds, you'd be just fine with that armor panel. And next, we'll see how it would do if somebody with an AK infiltrated your security perimeter and got up close and personal. Next up, 123 grain, 7.62 by 3.9. This is some Serbian stuff. I think it's actually corrosive. Certainly something you might see in the Balkans. Let's see. As those of you who watch the channel a lot know, when the armor doesn't move, that's when we get concerned. It didn't move there, but the results weren't too bad. So obviously we had our impact right there and our backfest deformation there held up just fine. I should also note before we move on, guys, big thanks to the folks over at Firearms Depot. They have sponsored all the ammo that we're going to use in this video. And like I said, we got some heavy hitters out here if we need it. So they're doing some heavy lifting. Definitely check out the folks over at Firearms Depot. All right, let's keep going. Next round up, some M193 5.56 55 grain coming out of an 11-inch barrel, 11 and a half inch in the IAR. We'll see how that does. As y'all saw, that was our impact point there with that round and backface deformation, but didn't go through. Noticeable, I don't know if you guys can see it on camera, but noticeable difference in the backface deformation there versus the 7.62, which is expected at this distance. Next round up, same M193 55 grain, but out of a 16-inch barrel, and again, we're at like 10 yards, so that's pretty high velocity for this distance. Uh-oh. Well, as y'all saw there, that was our entrance point. I totally thought it went through. It did not. The backface deformation, though, was enough to actually push the box in. So that's interesting. But you'd be completely fine if you're riding a helicopter and you took that M193 going, you know, almost 3,000 feet per second, maybe even 3,000 feet per second out of a 16-inch barrel. So let's keep going. Next round up, we have some Eggman M80 ball. So 7.62 by 5.1. 147 grain projectile coming out of a 16-inch proof research barrel here. That's a lot of power. And we'll see. I genuinely have no idea what's going to happen. Let's find out. Before we started recording, I actually thought in my head that was a potential failure point. M80 ball's no joke, especially at this distance, excuse me. As you guys can see, entrance there, back face deformation, zero penetration. So now I have some specialty rounds. I actually have the fancy rounds out here in several different calibers, but before, and we also have the 50 and the 300 Win Mag. Before we get to that, I want to test the M855 simply because at this point, it's pretty much everywhere in the world. So it's entirely possible that enemy forces could be firing at us one way or another. Additionally, a lot of the Soviet ammo, as many of you guys know, has AP properties, even if it's not actual AP ammo. So it should approximate that. So let's tee that up next. As you can see, we have the 855 there. It doesn't appear on this armor that there's any type of ceramic on the strike face. So I genuinely have no idea what's about to happen here. Still using that 11.5 Colt IAR. Let's see. I think the slow-mo gave it away, but there's our entrance there. And on the back, we did have our first penetration of that armor. Like I said, there's no, at least I don't feel any ceramic here, which would typically be used to break up AP type projectiles. I do think it might stop some heavier hitters though. So we're gonna step it up, 300 Win Mag, see what happens. As promised, some 150 grain. This is PPU 300 Win Mag coming out of our Ruger American with full length barrel. I mean, this thing is a thumper. So I don't know. I legitimately don't know what's going to happen. One way to find out. As we saw there on the slow-mo, that was our entrance right there. I wanted to put it on the bottom, kind of untouched piece. And interestingly, we have some strange things going on here with the backside of this armor. So obviously it did go through. However, it was right on the back end of my table. So it barely went through, hit the dirt, and then just kind of fell over. So it didn't have much energy at all when it went through. You can also tell just all this deformation that comes out. The reason for that is the armor is catching the round in real time. But if you compare it to like the 855, it just went right through, almost no deformation, tons of deformation. I mean, it was close. I'd be willing to bet if you had a shorter barrel, like a 16 inch instead of that full length barrel, there's a good chance it would have stopped that 300 Win Mag. Same would be true if that 300 Win Mag was at like 3, 4, 5, 600 yards. It probably would have stopped it. I mean, it barely went through. Very, very interesting. Well, we've already found the failure point, but since I brought the 107 out, we're going to use it. So we have some PMC. This is just ball 50 cal. And of course the Barrett with the 29-inch barrel. So this thing is getting full burn. It is going to be humming for science. Let's check it out. So we tried to go offhand center mass with it and actually hit exactly where I was intending to. Shocking. But that's our entrance hole. And there you go. As you guys could see, we had backface deformation and it also went through. It actually went through. I'm not sure if the slow-mo cameras captured it or even this main camera here captured it, but it went through the box and then it went into the berm. I saw the berm kick dirt up when I was firing it here in person. So to go through, that's about 8 inches of dirt. To go through 8 inches of dirt after going through armor is insane. So the fact that it did that just shows 50, except no substitutes. So again, entrance hole, and that is the exit. Impressive. I would imagine at this point in the video, most of you guys have guessed that armor testing is some of my favorite videos to make out here. It's just fun. And this stuff did exceptionally well. One thing I don't think I mentioned earlier when comparing it to the level 3 armor is that it's way thinner. So it's about maybe 2/3 the thickness of what you would see with civilian level 3 armor. And the performance that we saw out here today, honestly a little bit better than what I would expect from regular level 3. It's probably like a little bit between level 3 and level 3 plus. The big difference, of course, is that it doesn't appear to have anything like ceramic or any of the other alumina type materials that some armor use to break up those penetrating projectiles. And it seems like basically, I mean, the fact that it stopped 308 is crazy at 10 yards, like very, very good. I would be very confident in this armor. And again, from what I understand now, this stuff's obsolete and they actually have way better stuff now. And if you think about like Soviet types of ammo, like we mentioned, the 7N6 out of the 545 has a little bit of AP properties to it. Some of the PKM ammo out there does as well. So obviously when you increase that distance, the probability of it going through and having those AP capabilities and AP properties goes down. But yeah, I mean, it did pretty well. Like I said, the stuff is light. It's comically light. And the fact that it stopped a lot of those rifle rounds, very, very impressive, especially with some of the velocity that was coming out of some of those. It almost stopped at the 300 Win Mag. I mean, it was close, pretty darn close. The 50 cal, not so much. Blew right through, as you guys saw there. So that pretty much is it for today's video. If you like this type of video, make sure you guys are subscribed. We have some more armor out here that we might be testing in future videos. If you guys like this video, you would like those as well. Make sure you guys are following me on all my social media as well, because I've been deleted from YouTube twice, and I'm sure it's just a matter of time before it happens again. Additionally, if you guys like this video, you're subscribed, you're not seeing 2 to 4 videos a week here on the channel, then you are being censored by an algorithm from my content. Easy way around that is to sign up for the email at the website here on your screen. This email goes out in 2 different forms. It has a monthly email that just goes out once a month, and it has all the videos since the previous month's email. So that way there's no big tech giant censoring your eyes from my content through an algorithm. And then it'll also get you put on the daily deals email. That goes out pretty much every day, as the name indicates. It has typically 8 to 10 of the best deals that we find around the internet on different items, optics, ammo, the rifles that you guys saw out here today, the handgun that you guys saw out here today, all those sorts of things. If it's the best price for a given item on a given day that I'm aware of, it'll go in the email, so that way it saves you guys some time and hopefully saves you some money as well. There's also a good meme in there, a good Pro 2A meme. And if you like Pro 2A memes, you can sign up just for that. I will allow it. Lastly, we have an SMS service that you guys can sign up for by texting the word gear to the code on your screen. That'll get you guys signed up, or you can go the old-fashioned way and sign up on the website down below. You will have to verify your age because of the FCC. It's crazy. It is what it is. Once you verify your age, that will get you on the list. SMS don't go out every day, but at most once a day. And it has the same kind of thing, either a new video that just dropped, once again, getting around that algorithmic censorship, or it has a smoking deal that very likely will sell out. And that way, the folks who are signed up for my SMS can take advantage of it and save some money. And the folks who aren't, well, they can just pay more somewhere else, is what it is. It's a free service. You sign up. And with that, guys, that's all I have. If you guys are CH-47 pilots, crew members, maintainers, whatever, let us know what do you guys think of this performance down below, and let us know how you think the new stuff would do. Maybe I'll put a note into Pete Hegseth and see if we can get the new stuff out here. I highly doubt it. I'm sure it's classified. But yeah, that's all I got for you. Thank you all for watching. I truly appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing everybody in the next video.